Here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season. And if they want to make the deep run to the playoffs, they're going to need players. And Ben Hutton's a good defenseman that can help.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now, if Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
I was very tempted to just put defense.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline? And then Mason Crosby's 55-yard field goal or something like that. That was a good one.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I just do not see Harden putting in the same amount of effort into each game. Yeah, I honestly believe that's why he hasn't won a championship yet.
That's a perfect name. What you said, name brand players. Like, it's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I swear we didn't script that.
Fultz is injured, and he really hasn't lived up to the potential of being the number one overall pick when he was selected by the Sixers.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young. You see the Chiefs beefing up their O-line, and then you have the Buccaneers beefing up their defensive line.
Ingrained in the life of Tom Brady and what winning actually looks like, I think will be a very good move for Bruce Arians and this Bucs organization.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL opinions for this week. We will be doing our AFC team draft needs. We did our NFC ones about a week ago, so make sure to check that out. But now we're going to do the AFC, and we're going by divisions. Let's start with the AFC East, and we'll do the Bills. Austin and I both have different lists. I'll say corner is probably their biggest need for me.
I agree, corner. Tre'Davious White tore his ACL last year, and they definitely need someone on his side helping, or maybe on the opposite side. They definitely just need a corner to help with their depth, at least, because of the injuries they've had at that position before.
And given just the wide receiver talent, mostly with the Dolphins, but also the wide receiver talent in the AFC, they really need a corner. And then my other needs are running back and linebacker, but mostly I would like to see him snag a linebacker at the appropriate time, because I think a running back would really elevate this offense.
I was thinking wide receiver, but I didn't put it down because I think Gabriel Davis will make a good season next year. I think he'll show us that was not a fluke in the playoffs. So the only need I have other than cornerback, their other need is edge rusher. I think if they added an edge rusher besides of Von Miller, if they had one on the opposite side to where they couldn't always double Von Miller, I think their defense would be elite. Which it already is, but it'd be better. It'd be... Yeah.
You can never go wrong with drafting another defensive end, but I feel like getting Von Miller was like, okay, that's not a huge need. They also have Gregory Rousseau, who they drafted last year, so maybe he'll take another leap. So I don't disagree. I just didn't have that on my list. Now we'll go to the Patriots. I have corner as their biggest need.
I say corner as well. After losing J.C. Jackson, that's really the only need that jumps off the board.
Yeah, and it would have been wide receiver, but they've done a really good job getting some wide receivers to where now they can really go for a corner. But I also said wide receiver is a need, and then defensive end.
Yeah, my other needs for the Patriots are offensive guard and linebacker. I feel like if they could improve their offensive line, they could be able to run the ball better with like James White and their other running back, who is, I can't remember his name because I'm dumb.
Yeah. Oh, nope. They traded him. I was gonna say Sony Michel, but he's now around.
No, not Sony Michel. He's actually really good, and I just can't remember his name.
He was traded from the Rams, right? They sent just a running back. Wasn't it?
No.
Rams running back?
I'm searching it up. Damien Harris.
Oh, okay.
Damian Harris, yeah, he's really good. But yeah, offensive line, so offensive guard is what I wrote down. And linebacker, they've really struggled drafting linebackers ever since Dante Hightower left. Well, he did not play well last year, so they have to move off of him anyway. But I feel like drafting a solid linebacker to pair next to Chase Winovich, I think would be a good move as well.
Yeah, also offensive line because they traded the
Trent
guard
Brown.
to the Trent.
No,
Oh,
not Trent Brown.
uh,
Shaq Mason.
Shaq Mason. Yeah, that was an interesting move. But now we'll go to the Dolphins, and the only thing I really have is O line and D line. Like they're really set at wide receiver, set corner for me, maybe safety. Oh, I know I kind of just went on my needs, but the big one to me is O line.
For me, I said edge. I feel like if they could add an insane edge rusher, that would be something of great assistance to their team.
Yeah, like they did get Teron Armstead, but I would just have like guard and then maybe a right tackle, maybe even a center too. But really not too many glaring needs that stick out to me. I do agree on defensive line. So
Yeah, I put edge as my main need, but then one of my other needs is defensive line, like the interior is what I meant by that. Besides the
yeah,
end, and then well, not just the interior. There's also like I'm not saying D tackles necessarily, but D tackles would help as well. And then I also have center. Center I think is their biggest line need, and then I put wide receiver because they lost Devonte Parker. If they could get a 4 or a 3 from this draft, because this draft is very deep in quality wide receivers, if they could add a 3 or a 4 guy to take off some of the pressure from their top two, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I think that would also be a good decision.
yeah, I really like their top three. In Waddle, Hill, and then Wilson. I think Wilson is a very solid three, and we saw what he could do when he had two good wide receivers in front of him. And I would say Waddle and Hill, probably a more dangerous combination than Lamb and Cooper.
Yes, but it really depends on how Tua plays. But yes,
Yeah, because I feel Lamb is a very solid wide receiver, but Cooper didn't play well last season.
yeah, but the season before I think they both did well, but
Yeah,
that's when
yeah,
Dak was hurt. So
yeah. So I think it's a very similar rate, similar situation for Wilson. So I think he'll still be productive. And then the Jets, um, I'm probably going to say corner as their biggest need for me.
I said wide receiver. They were going after Tyreek Hill, and I think that's because they need a wide receiver one to pair with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I do agree with wide receiver. I think if Debo Samuel was going to be traded, I really see the Jets as one of the
That would be
landing spots.
crazy. I mean, it makes more sense because their head coach is a 49ers
And
former head coach. Or not head coach,
and the
but
offensive
corner.
coordinator LaFleur was with the
Mike,
Niners
yeah.
offense. Yeah. So that's why I really see it. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if that does happen. I'm not sure if Debo actually gets traded. I think some things can get worked out, but that's like my number one landing spot. So that's why I kind of don't have wide receiver, but it is a need. But I corner and then basically anything on defense plus wide receiver.
I didn't say safety. I feel like they're good in safety, but besides safety, edge, linebacker, corner. So almost everything besides
Yes,
safety and
yeah, they did
interior
look
defensive
a
line.
good job filling safety in the free agency part.
Yeah.
So now we can go to the AFC North. Bengals. Biggest thing for me is probably D line.
Wow. I still think they need to address their offensive line, especially like their guards more, because I know they got Kappa, but I still don't think the other offensive guard position is set in stone. I feel like they should go fuller into that. And the ones they picked up weren't extremely young. Like how young is Leo
Lil
Collins?
Collins. I think he's like 28 or 29. Let me. Are you
Yeah,
googling that?
I'll Google. But yeah, I think that they should add more to their offensive line still because I don't think it's set in stone for where they want to be in the future.
I'm pretty sure he's 28. But I
Um,
do agree. Like it is a problem, but it's not too of a big problem. I think I would like him to go defensive line, build up,
He is
add
28. You're
another
right.
person.
He will turn 29 before the season
March?
starts. What?
No, never mind. I was gonna guess his birthday was March.
It's July
Wasn't it?
26th.
Dang, so close.
But yeah, I still have offensive line other issues besides picking up Kappa and Lyle Collins.
Yeah, that's my second thing: offensive line, then corner, and then maybe a little bit of safety. But I feel Jesse Bates is good at safety.
Yeah, I didn't put safety on mine. My others are defensive tackle. Like I think their edge rushers are fine, but their defensive tackles are suspect for what they need to do. And then my others are cornerback, which I think they need to improve, and then tight end. They obviously lost their tight end to the Jets, so I feel like if they picked up a solid tight end in this draft, that would be a great addition.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So now we're going to the Steelers. My biggest need for them is O-line, just because you don't know who's going to be under center. And if they want to really step up their run game, they need a good offensive line, and that was one of their weaknesses, one of their big weaknesses last year.
For me, I put QB. I feel like they should go after Malik Willis. They obviously really like him, so I feel like that's their biggest need because that's going to be their position where I feel like they may even draft two people because of the unfortunate happenstance that happened to Haskins. So they may pick up a starter and a backup. They may pick up two.
Interesting. So we can get into the quarterback talk. I like Desmond Ritter, but I do not think if Willis hits his ceiling or gets close to his ceiling, I think he'll be a better quarterback than Ritter. But I like Ritter for the Steelers because I think he will be the better option at the start, if that makes sense. And I just don't know if they want to wait for that development with the development that I think Willis needs. Because he just seems very raw to me. And I think Ritter...
I think the whole pickup of Mitch Trubisky was a off year this year. I think that was the whole point, was to go with Willis afterwards. Or go to Willis now and then just use him afterwards. Or play him afterwards, if you want to say.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
And then do you want to go into the others? So my others are safety, wide receiver, cornerback, linebacker, and offensive line. They really struggled at stopping the run. Was it stopping the run or stopping the pass? Stopping the run. It was stopping the run, yeah, because they couldn't stop Jerick McKinnon of the Chiefs the entire playoff game. So they just need an improvement there, and then the only reason why their pass defense wasn't that bad is because of their defensive line. So they just need everything really retooled on defense besides defensive line, because Cam Hayward's very good, and so is J.J. Watt. And then they obviously need to fix, like you said, their offensive line.
Yeah, I said wide receiver, corner, and then also QB. But wide receiver, they've lost
Juju. And
Juju,
Deontay Johnson.
and James
Washington. Yeah. Wide receiver was one of my needs.
Yeah. And then corner, I want to say their youngest corner is probably like 31.
Youngest corner that plays, I would believe that, but there's no way because you keep like 6 corners.
Well,
on
yeah,
the
but
roster.
like
the ones that play, yes, that would
Joe
not.
Hayden is like I think the main guy at corner, and isn't he like 36?
I thought he was 35.
Okay, we'll see.
I'm checking right now.
But like, it's a very old secondary.
Joe Hayden's 33.
Oh wow, okay. That's not too bad, but still, like to me, I think that's their number one corner. So they need to upgrade that position.
Yeah, and he was out some games. There were 17 games played, obviously, and he only played in 12 and only started 11.
Yeah, so that's one of their weaknesses, and then QB. I just don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think we can move on now to the Ravens. I added their big need to me is wide receiver.
Their big need to me was defensive end. They obviously tried to go after Sedarius Smith, and I know they brought back Calais Campbell, but I still think their D line, especially their edge, is not the best in a division with a lot of good edge rushers with the Steelers, T.J. Watt, with the Browns, Myles Garrett, and the Bengals have T.J. Hawkinson and some other guys on their defensive edge. It's just they're the only team that I see in their division that has a bad defensive end group.
Yeah, I agree. Defensive end is one of my secondary needs, and then linebacker and corner. I just would like more depth at corner.
Yeah, corner is one of my others. So is offensive tackle, and the other is wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wide receiver, because they lost Sammy Watkins, I would like to, I guess, maybe snag one in the draft. Because, like you said, it's a deep class. Because their only legitimate threat to me, wide receiver, is Marquise Brown. And so I would like to have another threat for Lamar to pass to, besides Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
So I think we can move on now to the Browns. I said defensive end because I know they have Garrett and Clowney, but Clowney has struggled with injuries, so I'd like to get another defensive end.
I'm surprised you put that as your biggest need. I put mine as D tackle. I feel like their interior defensive line is something that is definitely needing to be addressed.
Yeah, I also agree. That's one of my secondary needs. And then I have a wide receiver, mostly because of the depth. Because they traded for Amari, and then they cut Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, my other needs include wide receiver, edge, like you mentioned, and then the other one I have is middle linebacker. I don't really trust their middle linebacking core right now, and I feel like depth there would be needed for next season.
Yeah, and also corner, because I know you have Denzel Ward, but outside of that, I think they need more help. Linebacker, it'd be nice to have depth, but I really like who they picked up. Korowosu, the linebacker from Notre Dame last year in the second round. I thought that was pretty crazy that he was still there. So I think there may need defensive line. We can agree on that. Edge versus defensive tackle. But it will be interesting, but I really think depth is also an issue with the wide receiver, because I think it would have been great if they kept Jarvis Landry. So I was surprised they cut him. But once they got another wide receiver.
So, yeah, it was surprising to let him go, but definitely another wide receiver is needed.
Yeah. Now we'll go to the AFC South, and we'll start with the Titans. I have corner as their big need for me.
My big need is wide receiver. Obviously, they lost Julio Jones, so I feel like that is their biggest need.
So I think depth, but I really like they have Robert Woods and A.J. Brown, so I think that's a pretty nice.
But 2 wide receivers isn't really enough.
I do agree, but I don't think that's their biggest need. I think corner, because they struggled within the secondary last year. And then I also had linebacker and then offensive line because they cut Roger Saffold.
Yeah, my other needs are middle linebacker, running back, because obviously Derrick Henry got hurt, and I don't feel like they should run him as much as they have been recently. Tight end, they've struggled with tight end last year, even though I like Ferkser. And then cornerback, like you said.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I do think if they can get a complimentary back to Derrick Henry, I'm sure they can snag a good running back in the second and third round, or fourth. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Then we got the Colts. I say left tackle, because I don't think they've re-signed Fisher, and Stanzo retired last year, and then they brought in Fisher. So they really need to anchor that side down. So that's their most glaring need to me.
Yeah, that is one of my other needs, left tackle, but my main need, wide receiver. I still think they need more depth there. And again, I'm having a lot of wide receivers because this is such a deep draft that I don't think there's an excuse to not take one.
Yeah, wide receiver is another need. Then corner, like mostly cornerback.
Yep, that's my other need as well. But I only have 3 needs.
Yeah, when I was making this list, to me, there's not many needs that like stick out to me, except like the left tackle one and then the corner for the Patriots. Because a lot of these, like AFC was very active, and I feel the AFC is overall a better conference than the NFC. But I could see the NFC winning the Super Bowl, an NFC team winning the Super Bowl, and that's mostly because Tom Brady's in the NFC.
Yeah, Bucks or Packers are the only ones I really see as true contenders, especially if Debo gets traded.
Yeah, and we don't even know what's going to happen with Trey Lance.
Mhm.
So
Or what happens
we,
to Jimmy Garoppolo.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm interested, and then you could see maybe an NFC team trades for Baker, but we'll have to see what happens with them. But with the Colts, really not that much. Wide receiver, I do agree. But corner, the signing of Stephon Gilmore, I think was great. He's a solid corner, and he was a former Defensive Player of the Year, so I really like that signing for him. But I just think if you can set a left tackle, then this team will be good.
Yeah, I agree. The Colts are. I think they're close.
Yeah, like I said, they will be a very good team, but I could see them missing the playoffs just because they could. Like I could see the Titans winning the division again, and then who knows who's winning the wild cards because there are so many stacked teams in the AFC.
That's completely true.
So now with the Jaguars, I said biggest need O-line, and that's just a preference because I think everything outside of I like their wide receiver. Like they did overpay for Kirk. DJ Chark left, correct? Or DJ Chark was never on the Jaguars, correct?
What do you mean he was never on the Jaguars?
Or am I thinking? I'm thinking of DJ Moore. DJ Chark was on the Jaguars, correct?
Yeah.
And now he's with the Lions.
Yeah.
Okay, so mostly I said O line because I think that's what you should build an NFL team with. And then D line, and then wide receiver. A lot of any other position basically because they're still a rebuilding team.
Hmm.
But what do you think?
I didn't have that many needs here, but that's because I feel like one of them they should take a ton of. My biggest need is edge. I feel like they should take Aiden Hutchinson or Will Anderson with their first pick. And then my others are offensive line, which I think they should take probably one of every position because they have a good bit of picks, and then cornerback and then tight end. Uh, yeah, those are the major needs. I really hope they go all uh, far into offensive line, but I don't think that's their biggest need because I feel like they can get more. They're known as a defensive team in their history. Like when they've been good, they're good on defense. So I feel like getting that edge rusher that can set the tone for your team would be monumental.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of rebuilding teams with a young quarterback go towards offensive line because of what we've seen with the Bengals and just how the offensive line hurt that team in the Super Bowl. So I think we're going to see a lot of teams go, okay, we really need an offensive line. In the past two Super Bowls, teams that lost really did not have good offensive lines at that during that game. So I think teams are like, okay, we're going to heavily invest in our offensive line. So I think we could see something like that with the Jaguars. But also agree, corner, defensive line, good defensive team in their history when they were good. But now we go to the Texans. I said O-line as well. Um, you do have Laramie Tunsil, but everything else, and then protect a young QB, even if that guy is not who you think will be your future starter when you're competitive or when you want to win a Super Bowl and win playoff games. I think the jury's still out on Davis Mills, but O-line, defensive end, corner, wide receiver. So a lot of positions.
Yeah. Um, I went edge for Texans as their main because again, there's a lot of good edge rushers at the top. Again, they should take the one that the Lions and Jaguars don't take. I would probably take Will Anderson here. I feel like he's going to be the one here. And then offensive line, it's my only other need because I feel like they just need to retool the entire offensive line, especially if they're going with a young guy at quarterback. Like you said, for all these other teams, drafting a line is very key for their success.
Yeah, I agree. And now we go to the final AFC division, and this division is going to be crazy. We'll start with the Chiefs. Biggest need is probably linebacker for me. I'm not sure if they brought back Anton Hitchens, but I would like to add another linebacker, and then corner is a close second for me.
What did you say? What team?
A linebacker, big need, and then my close second is corner.
For
Chiefs.
my Chiefs, I said wide receiver. I know they picked up another wide receiver, but they lost Tyreek Hill. Big, deep draft for wide receiver. I feel like going after a wide receiver here would be intelligent, especially how we know Patrick Mahomes likes to play offense. If you could get a very fast wide receiver like Hill or at least a deep ball threat, I feel like that would be good because I don't know if Juju is what he used to be.
Yeah, wide receiver is another one of my needs. I kind of want them to build a better defense because even without Hill, your offense is not going to be as good unless they were to trade for someone like Debo. But I don't think that's very. I don't think
That
that's
would
really
break. That would
possible.
break the internet. That would break the
Like,
NFL.
I think they could do it, but because they have they have 2 first-round picks, even though they're later in the rounds. I think they could do it, but they would then have to give Debo a deal. And I know they had a deal with Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill said no. He wanted to play for a different team. I'm curious to see if they do that, but if the Jets come in and use one of their first-round picks or both first-round picks, I feel the Niners would be more inclined to take the Jets deal because it's a higher pick.
Yeah, the Chiefs would have to give more. The Chiefs like picks.
Yeah.
They'd have to give more picks
Mm-hmm.
or a
And then
player that's good. And
well, yeah, I think the main team that's my front runner with Debo is the Jets. Then I put Chiefs and then Packers. Like I could see the
I
Packers
put
getting it,
Packers.
but
I
I
put
don't know.
Packers above Chiefs because they want to keep Aaron Rodgers. I had a dream last night, and
Oh,
I'm not joking when I say this. I had a dream last night, and Aaron Rodgers was on the Bills. I don't know why. I don't know why the Bills would do that because they have Josh Allen. I don't. It doesn't seem realistic at all. But I actually had a dream where Aaron Rodgers was on the Bills, and it was really weird. I was just watching the TV, and I saw Aaron Rodgers on the Bills, and I was confused.
I thought it was gonna be a Debo and a
Nah,
Packers
nah,
dream.
nah, nah. But I did because you said Packers. It made me. Oh, that was my
Okay,
dream.
gotcha.
But it obviously wouldn't be my dream scenario because I don't want Aaron Rodgers to leave. So that was a weird, weird event.
Yeah, I
But
feel Bills are set with Allen.
yeah, that dream
But
makes
yeah,
no
yeah, that's
sense. I'm
what it
not
is.
saying
Yeah,
it's even close to. It's not gonna. It's not going to happen. But I would put Packers above Chiefs because I believe the Packers are more desperate to get a Debo type player after losing Devonte Adams because Devonte Adams was more of the offense than Tyreek Hill was. Because I don't think Tyreek Hill was the most important receiver on his team. I would have said Travis Kelce was.
yeah, I would agree with that. It would be interesting to see how Debo would be used because I believe I now changing my wide receiver rankings quickly. I would say Devonte Adams heading next season is the number one wide receiver just because of the injury concerns that Hopkins has faced. So I now put Adams at 1. So
You know my take on this. I would have
well,
put
yeah,
him
you
number
had
one
Adams at
either
1
way.
already.
He's still number one, and he was number one before. So that doesn't change. And it doesn't change that he left the Packers. I'm not a biased person. He's the number
Oh yeah.
one wide receiver in the league.
So I would say Adams is the better wide receiver than Debo. The thing with Debo is he's can be in the backfield, play running back, but also catch passes.
But
And type of
I saw
numbers.
a report, and I don't know how true this report is, or if it's just speculating, that Debo does not want to be a wide back, aka a wide receiver, or he doesn't want to be both. So he'd just be a wide receiver. And in that case, I feel like he'd have even more of a place with the Packers than he would with the Chiefs, because the Packers have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon.
Yeah. So I don't feel like that's the best spot for Debo if he wants to be able to run the ball a lot. But if he doesn't want to run the ball as much, I feel like the Packers would be probably his best fit besides the Jets.
Yeah. So long back to the AFC draft needs wide receiver. That's why I have it lower because I think I could see. I don't know if they're going to draft a wide receiver, but I would totally be fine with them drafting wide receivers. I just would like them. I think their biggest needs are on defense.
Yeah.
So
My
that's
my
why I have
others besides wide receiver are edge, corner, tight end, and running back. Obviously, I know they have Travis Kelce, but if they could add a really good tight end to pair against Travis Kelce, that could create a monster offense.
Yeah, I would agree. And then, yeah, it'd be great. Now we'll go to the Raiders. I have corner as their biggest need, just because their secondary was not good last year.
The biggest need for me I put is O line. I feel like in a division like the Chargers who picked up Khalil Mack. The Chiefs obviously have a good D line in general, and the Broncos have a good D line. You need a good O line.
Yeah, I do agree. O line is one of my other needs, and then linebacker with corner. Um, just because I think, given like the wide receivers that are in the AFC, I think they would go more corner. But I do agree, offensive line is another need.
I put defensive tackle, cornerback, linebacker, and wide receiver as my others. They definitely need a corner. I feel like adding depth on their D tackle position would be good. And then wide receiver, I know they picked up Devonte Adams, but you can't really have enough. And again, it's a deep draft. And I'm not really confident. Besides Hunter Renfro and Devonte, their third is murky to me. Like, I don't know how much. I feel like you can improve it, is my point, in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. You can never have too much wide receiver depth. In case like injuries happen. But now we can go to Chargers. My biggest need is linebacker. Because they did a good job getting corner, and then I like their D line. If they stay healthy, so I have linebacker.
My biggest need is defensive tackle. I feel like they weren't that good at stopping the run last year, and I feel like obviously when their season was on the line, they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs. So I feel like their defensive tackle position is something that I would probably invest in the most.
Yeah, D line is my second one of my secondary needs because like you don't know if Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack are going to stay healthy the entire season. So add some depth there, and then also defensive tackle as you mentioned, and then O line, their right side of their O line I think could be upgraded. So, and then add some more depth on the O line.
Yeah, I also put my others are center. I feel like center is another position they need. I put tight end as well. They ran Jared Cook last year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
He's an elder tight end, and while he's definitely still good, I feel like they could improve that position still, or if not improve, at least get somebody under his wing that could blossom. And I also said edge for the same reason you did. I was like, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack have had injury concerns in the past potentially, and with age, Khalil Mack, it's going to be harder for him to do 100% of the snaps. So if you could have a third DN that could play whenever Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack isn't on the field, I feel like that would be good. Then I agreed with you with linebacker.
Yeah, and now we'll go to our final team, and that's the Broncos. Biggest need for me is O line, because give Russell Wilson an O line. Like he hasn't really had a great O line since he won the Super Bowl.
My biggest
So
need is corner. That has been their biggest issue for a while, besides Patrick Surtain last year. And I feel like, especially in a division with all the wide receivers now in that division, the Chiefs obviously have Juju and Travis Kelsey. The Chargers with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and then Hunter Renfro, Darren Waller, and Devonte Adams on the Raiders. The Broncos, I think, cornerback is their biggest need.
corner is my second need. Then I have wide receiver because you do have Sutton, Judy, and Hamler, but I just would like to have some more wide receivers because I'm not sure how Hamler or Judy would turn out. Judy had an injury.
There's also another
campaign
one you're
last year.
missing. You're missing one.
Who am I? Sutton, Hamler, Judy. Oh, is it that? Oh man, he got a pass over Trevon Diggs. Patrick? Something.
Yes,
Patrick?
yes. Uh, yes. I just can't remember his
It's
first name now.
I know it's. I can't remember. Yeah, I have no idea.
One
You
second, I'm
Googling it?
searching it up. Come on, hurry up. Tim Patrick.
Oh, okay, Tim Patrick. Someone texted me.
Oh,
And I Googled also. Yeah. So Tim Patrick. And then tight end because they lost Noah Fant. So I would say wide receiver. I just like more proven wide receivers or just younger ones because I'm not sure how if Judy stays healthy or Hamler because Hamler was also injured. I believe so. So but biggest need is O line and corner. I agree with you on that.
yeah. My second need is O line. So we agreed there. We just had it flip flopped. And then my other needs are tight end, safety to pair someone next to Justin Simmons, and then defensive tackle.
Yeah. Defensive end, I feel I like what they did, but you can never have too many defensive ends. So because I like the addition of Gregory and they also have Chubb.
Yeah, that's why I said D tackle, because I feel like D
Yeah.
tackle's much more needed.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts before we end this?
No, I'm just thinking about what my mock draft's gonna be.
That's a great little teaser right there, because that will be our next draft episode, and it will be the day of the draft, and we will be doing separate mock drafts. So that concludes our needs, and then we'll do drafting. And be sure to be on the lookout for that. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.